Hello, my friends, and welcome back to 15-Minute Free Thinking. This particular podcast will be available on both audio and on the YouTube version, which I don't always do. I made a podcast yesterday at which something happened and it didn't end up recording the audio, but I will be posting the video version soon. But as to this one, I want to get right to the point. In all the years of making videos, which has been over a decade now, and a lot of you know this since if you've been following my channel from, the beginning, you'll know that I've talked about just about every topic known to mankind, and you kind of have to when you have 5,000 videos. But I'm shocked that I've stuck with it this long, but all of my videos have continued to be the same raw format of me talking to the camera, and over the last 100 podcasts or so, me talking to my audio recorder, which coincidentally, or I guess ironically somewhat, is you wouldn't think it would be harder, but it is. I would think that doing video would be harder, but it's not, because I'm used to it. I see myself. And at any rate, when I talk about controversial topics, often people say things like, well, you should stick to talking about this or stick to talking about that. That's usually people who are new to my channel and don't realize the different phases I've gone through in my own life, my ups and downs, and my discoveries, and my times of elation and my times of depression. And I appreciate all of you who have stuck around through that. But what I want to touch on here is, first off, an apology. And this apology goes out to anybody that I've ever offended, whether it be family, friends, strangers, neighbors, anybody. And when I say for neighbors, it's because, having a YouTube channel is strange. It doesn't matter how popular your channel is. It doesn't matter if you're famous or if you're just like me, some random YouTuber. Usually your family knows that you have a channel. And because of this, your family watches, your friends watch, at least sometimes, and your neighbors. I've had neighbors be like, "Oh, hey, I saw you on YouTube." It's awkward to be able to talk about things and then know that everyone around you knows what you're up to and what you're thinking about when it's almost like they don't even have to ask you what you've been thinking about lately, because they already know. It's a weird situation. It's a one-way kind of relationship when people are watching my videos and listening to my podcasts. But amidst all of this, often people I know, or even strangers that have been on my channel, even people who have commented once or something, I'll make a video and people will think that I'm talking about them. They will think that my video was referring to them. And in the case of for example, the video I made the other day about pronouns and using pronouns, I know that bothered a few people. And I thought about this, and like I said, my apologies go out to anyone who was offended, but I want to assure you that none of my videos have ever been personally directed at anyone. Ever. Since at least way back when I used to make videos talking about this guy who was trolling me, and back in my early days when I was easy bait for trolls on YouTube. But the issues that tend to come up, there's always going to be somebody who's going to feel like you're offending them or talking about them. And that's what today's podcast is about. How important it is that we do understand each other and really understand intent. And, to make this clear, I don't make my video topics for views. I don't do it for likes, because I'll tell you, my audience doesn't usually want to hear about these things. I'm well aware that when I talk about controversial topics, if I was a news channel, that would be one thing, but I'm not. So when I do, a lot of people have negative views of it or don't like the video. So when I do these videos, it's for my own interest, or because I think it's important, or an uncomfortable truth. And that often is the case. That last one is the fact that I speak my mind because I feel like we have to. I want to be one of the people that says exactly how I feel and isn't afraid to speak out. And, I've looked at the statistics on how afraid people feel to speak out. 84% of Americans believe that it's a serious problem that Americans don't speak their mind. That's a vast majority of people. It doesn't mean that people agree with every perspective. It just means that a majority of people think that everyone needs to be able to speak their mind freely, regardless, because free speech is protected. But more than that, it's not just about our Constitution. It's about our right to hear each other out. And the most important thing isn't really what you say. It's the intention behind what you say. And for a guy like me that makes videos on YouTube, I'm always speaking off the cuff. So I can't edit out a mistake I make in my verbalization or the way I put my words together, right? I do my best, but my intention is never to offend anyone. The thing is, it's okay to be who we are, and it's okay to be judged. Sorry, I had to pause it for a minute. My kid came in screaming. Always in the middle of the podcast. Like I said, it's live. That's one of the few times I do pause it. So, as I said, I was talking about the fact that most people don't speak their minds, and then I said it's okay to be judged because we all do it. And I want to clarify what I mean by that. The fact that we all judge situations and people, it doesn't mean that it's a negative thing. We're taught good judgment from a young age. So when we look at something and we feel a certain way, the only way to really understand if our feelings are legitimate is to discuss them with other people. And when the public sphere does not allow for discourse, when the public square censors and kicks out other people's discussions because they think it's, quote, hate speech, it leads one to wonder what they can and can't say. And I want to make a note on the side that I was actually, if you'd asked me 4 years ago, I would say I'm all for, believing that hate speech should be, banned from certain places, that we shouldn't have to tolerate it. It was a brief time I thought that. Once you analyze it and you realize that it's a slippery slope, when you eliminate language, you eliminate everything. It's like a public book burning. And so really what it comes down to is asking people their intent. It's not about what people say, it's about what people do and their actually intent, their intent and what they mean. And all opinions must be allowed, regardless of how uncomfortable they are. But most of all, I think something I've learned from being online as long as I have and making videos about various topics is how different groups and different types of people respond. For example, if I'd make a flat earth video today and used all those hashtags, then I'd have a bunch of flat earthers attacking me right away, because in their mind, each morning they look up flat earth information and they're looking for confirmation to what they believe, this is just one example of many. Same thing happens with religion, sexuality, politics, taking the red pill, science, religion. You go on and on and on down the list. And those are the controversial topics. Race, gender, sexuality, politics, science, religion, conspiracies, social programs and socialism, immigration, culture and art. All of these things are the things that people claim that they are afraid to speak up about. And that's a problem. Even music, books, and art are completely subjective as to what's good and bad. And the idea that we can ever label what's, right and wrong has become a serious debate, within the community. Religion has always kind of pushed their values in, and perhaps we're some of the most judgmental, in telling people that they are heathens. And the reason that that's important is because the church had suppressed free speech for so long unless it agreed with the church. That's why once we were able to say what we want, one of the last, I guess, the last horizons of freedom was to be able to chastise our own leaders or our own representatives, in our case, the people who run the country, the people who are supposed to be in charge, and to be able to speak freely about things we don't like, such as the pharmaceutical industry, for example. But all of these things people can team up on. There are very few people who are defending heavily, say, a certain industry or corporations or the government, because they can just say whatever. I guess the point I'm getting at is that when you talk about these controversial topics that are wide and large, they tend to be accepted. But when you talk about something that's more niche, where people are personally affected by it, that's when it becomes an issue of debate and argument. Um, Especially when you tell people that you don't agree with, say, their beliefs, like in religion. And I've had a lot of debates with people over the years, and I've been sometimes a little bit standoffish with people and said, hey, basically what you believe is bullshit. But I try really hard not to do that. It's only when they tell me that they know what's best. They know what's best for me. And so anyhow, I don't know if I'm really getting off track or just trying to kind of nail down my point here. But we are all told in society to focus on the important topics, right? Don't worry about the distractions. But I've been thinking long and hard about what the distractions really might be. And also, what is important? What is important? What is important to individuals is usually not important to everyone. So there are very few things that we as a society can agree on and find important. And the media has made us more afraid to speak out, but also they are afraid to speak about the, most important topics, if you are. But here's the thing. We should be able to hear each other and what we have to say, even if it's something that's uncomfortable. But a right to speak is not a right to be heard. This is something that I came across the other day. Somebody was talking about how, they have the right to speak. You can say whatever you want. It doesn't mean that other people have to listen to you. And that's why most of the voices that don't make sense fade out and the rational voices come through. But I feel like in today's world, this isn't happening because the rational voices are being obscured. They're being hidden behind censorship walls, and people are making bigger issues out of things that really aren't that big of an issue to most people. And that's why, for example, the video I made the other day, it wasn't saying that I have anything against people who want to be called something specifically, but rather the way that society is making a bigger deal about it than it needs to be. We all suffer problems. I have my own issues. I don't see how one person's problems supersede others, but I do empathize and sympathize with other people and the shit that they go through because I'm a human being. And I understand that we're all confused. We all try to figure out what's important and what we want to do and who we are because it's complicated. 73% of people say that they're afraid to speak their own true opinions on the issues. As I said, 84% believe that it's an issue, but 73% won't even speak how they truly feel. So it makes you wonder how we're going to get anything from this exhausted majority, is what the people who are in the middle are called. But I don't want to be the exhausted majority that has to see people groveling from both sides and arguing. The truth is, what really matters is that we lead better lives ourselves as individuals and that we love the family and friends that we have and do our best to just cope with each other. But I think that our number one problem that we have today is oversensitivity. That might sound completely counter to what a lot of people believe, but I think that we're doing ourselves in by assuming that being more sensitive is going to help us survive better, because it doesn't. I am a very sensitive person. I care about others, and I cry when I see people suffering. But I can also be tough. We have to be both. We have to be strong, because there's something beautiful about strength, something that we all revere, something that we can see it in the movies and music, The way that we really respect the ability for a person to just keep getting up and fighting, even when they're in the middle of a chaotic world that is basically knocking us all down right now. All the different things that we think are important often aren't. What really matters is what we do for each other as family and friends. Anyway, that's all I've got for today, and thanks for coming along. I appreciate you all. If you want to hear more about woodworking and stuff, check out my other channel, Carpo Craft, or my Instagram where I post my guitars that I'm building. Check out my podcast, 15-Minute Free Thinking, and my YouTube channel is Carpo719, and I will talk to you all next time. Be well. I won't give you any Dollar Shave Club ads or VPNs or crappy headphones. I'm just going to say goodbye. Thanks for coming along.